Hey guys, I was asked to make a new video updating the Penance brand no hit runner, and here that video is. So basically, we've lost a bunch of damage. We've lost about 70%. You can see I'm at 480 million. This is with really good gear, so be warned, this build is expensive. Um, but think it's still the best no hit runner, so it's going to be extremely profitable if you can get it to work. So since the last league, what we've lost is we lost the mana cost flask, right? So we've changed that to regen. And because we lost the mana cost flask, we now have to run Eldritch Battery. Eldritch Battery basically removes your energy shield pool to your mana. So now on Wrath, let's see, Wrath, you can see our mana cost is 575. And this is on our energy shield, we have 1,000 energy shield. This is because we are now running the Glorious Vanity here. You have to use Corrupted Soul to gain our life as our extra ES. This is basically our only source of energy shield. So as long as you have above, I'll say 600 energy shield, you should feel okay. We get our energy shield recovery from Inquisitor, Pious Path nodes, these, where our Consecrated Ground, while our stationary applies our life regen to that. Now, a problem that I didn't foresee in this setup is that Eldritch Battery makes Righteous Fire really hard to maintain or sustain, because the damage that is taken to your energy shield is taken to your life now. And this is a problem, right? So what this basically means is that we have to spec into a lot more uh, life regen. And to do this, either you run a Ruby Flask, because this limits the damage you take. So if you're running Mage Blood, you can get your fire res to 84 pretty easily. I'm choosing not to do this, and you probably could, and it would make it a little easier. You'd lose a bit of damage because you could drop the Sulfur Flask, so you'd lose, what, this gives like 40% increased damage, and then times 2, so this gives around 80% increased damage. If I remove this, let's just see. Yeah, you lose about 50 million. It makes it easier to sustain, though, in that in order to sustain the new Righteous Fire with Eldritch Battery, I have to run regen boots. These have T1 life regen with T1 life regen rate. Oh, and I also have to run a fire res mod on these. Another thing we lost over patch is the nerf of the Rainbow Flask. So you can see the Bismuth Flask of the Rainbow now has 20% alt res during effect. And this means that our fire res is a lot harder to cap, which we need capped for Righteous Fire. So in order to cap our fire res, basically what we need to do, let me see, fire res. So we're getting a ton from the flask. You can see Bismuth, Flask of the Rainbow. I'm getting some on my Call of the Brotherhoods. So I have all res implicit, and this is really helpful. If you can get an all res implicit, this is amazing. I think if you cannot get the all res implicit, it's going to be impossible to get maxed fire res without using a Ruby. So you would run a Alchemist Ruby Flask of the order and just lose some damage. So until you can get a plus 15 all res or whatever with duped Calandra's Touch on your ring, you're going to have to run a Ruby Flask. But that means that you can run different boots, because then your Righteous Fire sustained because you've max res, right? So you can mess around with that. But this is still a ton of damage. Before patch, I ran a no-hit run on what I think was like 150 million DPS. So with some skill, this will be way more than enough. Has anything else changed? Oh yeah. Small sad note. I now have to run a crit cluster jewel here. Now before I was running, what was I running? It was the this one, Grand Design Seeker Runes. Seeker Runes basically makes it so that your unattached brands gain 20% increased attachment range per second up to 100%. This is really nice, but I'm not crit capped with this jewel, unfortunately. I'm at 95%. Now, this is actually a damage loss to swap out of Grand Design Seeker Runes and instead cap your crit. However, you can see we're 100%. If I were to put in that jewel, right? My damage goes up 481, but my crit chance is now at 95. And what this means is if your crit chance is not 100%, you are not freezing the Sanctum mobs 100% of the time. So that is a problem. So I would prioritize getting your crit chance to 100% over possibly like, you know, the most possible DPS. So I'm gonna put this back. Yeah. Also, if Grand Spectrums are too expensive, you can put in crit jewels, but you're gonna lose a lot of crit chance because of the power charge one. And these Grand Spectrums should be a lot easier to get now or cheaper because of the new jewel or div card, right? It's called Divine Justice. It gives a corrupted Grand Spectrum. So I think that's it for the updates. Once again, you're gonna need this jewel, Glorious Vanity, to fix your mana problems, and you're gonna need a lot more fire resistance, and you're gonna need a lot more regen. Finally, the node I'm taking now is Flesh to Lightning, and this converts the final 10% of your fist damage to lightning. Uh, I think, yeah, this beats out Aura Effect, so if you can get this node, that's perfect. Other than that, I think the build is pretty much unchanged. The cast speed went way down, unfortunately, so I would recommend messing around with this, messing around with the links. You could change out like hypothermia for like faster casting, for example, if it makes it feel better. I think that it's going to be fine, that you're still going to one-shot everything on the first take of Penance Brand, but if you're not, you can mess around with that. Um, and yeah, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and other than that, leave a like and sub if this was helpful.